You see the names up there. I'll make a quick introduction and why I chose of all of them. One, Rinse from the Hague, representing the municipality, really progressive, investing in different modes of transportation beyond the car. Then we have Tobias from Sigo, Germany, cargo bikes, go-to-market, completely different strategy through real estate, and some fresh news of the last few days that we will go over as well. Then Jaron, Cargoroo. Maybe you've seen few cargo bikes out there, yellow. That's your work, 1,400 cargo bikes across Europe, shared community, neighborhood cargo bikes. Why and how is it going? That's what we're going to talk about later today. Bob, the man behind quite a few cargo bikes out there on the market and many more to come. Not only cargo bikes, but as well cargo bikes. So the founder and chief designer of Vroegh Design. And to my left, Ben from Lug+Carrie, down under Australia, doing some amazing job with cargo bikes on subscription, making families discover that life without cars is possible. Round it up, can you, each of you, start with the one simple answer? Why are you doing what you're doing? Ben, you want to start?
I lived in Germany for 13 years, and I had an office where I would watch very confident, happy families drop their kids off at kindergarten each morning. They were our neighbours. And that started a very long conversation with my family back in Australia and asking, why aren't we doing this? This looks so empowering. It's such a lovely thing, positive impact, positive thing for the city. So we started doing some research, and our goal is to get Australia on as many cargo bikes and replace car trips. That's
good.
What
When did you start?
We started in the start of the pandemic, January 2020.
So still early days.
And now we're
micromobility.
Yeah, very early days, and now we're 3 years in, 43 staff, 3 cities.
Wow, congrats. Thank you. Bob, why are you doing what you're doing?
I can make it a very long story, but I keep it short for now. There is so much to improve in the mobility scene. There is so much that doesn't make sense to me at all in terms of safety, in terms of user experience, in terms of design. For example, that my car is 2,000 kilo, I'm 85 kilo, and still, me as a cyclist, I'm using my car almost each day. That kind of thing doesn't make sense to me at all. So we are working to increase the efficiency of the micromobility scene.
Good, good, thank you. Jaron.
Hi, the main thing is to keep our cities livable. And our cities are full of cars still. If you look outside this venue, you see a lot of car parking spaces, which is very strange for a micromobility event. But it's still the case even in Amsterdam. And I think the city would be much nicer if even more cars go out of the city or underground, not being used and replaced by cargo bikes, which are the ideal replacement for a car in a city.
Also, we'll come back to that, why cargo bikes has this high potential to really be the true replacement for cars. We'll come back to that point. But before we go, Tobias, how about Sigo?
Yeah, I wanted to do some grocery shopping, but it was too much for my bicycle. And there was no solution to solve that. So I invented something for myself, and yeah, I had to share it also with others because investors were not willing to only fund it for myself. So yeah, that's why I invented Sigo.
And why have you chosen the road of going through real estate developers?
I made a very deep analysis about the strengths and the cons of sharing mobility, and I saw that it's a real hassle for a lot of people to swap batteries. So charging infrastructure is quite good for sharing mobility, but the struggle is always to find space for the charging infrastructure. And then I came to the conclusion there is one industry in this world who has everything what I need: space, customers, and money. And this is the housing industry.
Very good. We'll come back to the details as well later on. Yeah, but thank you. Rinse, nothing would happen in The Hague without your support. Why are you doing that?
Yeah, I think I'm a believer. I have 2 small children myself, and I would very much like
all people in the city of The Hague to have the same freedom to go everywhere with your children, and of course to have a livable city and more space in streets to play, to meet. Yeah, that's the main focus. I guess.
If I may, thank you very much for the short introduction. If I may follow up on you, Prince, was it difficult, even in the Netherlands, even in a city so livable already and so attuned to people on bicycles, to start a program that city supports and invests into cargo bikes? Was it difficult or not to convince other colleagues?
It was not that difficult, I guess. We started with a pilot in 2019 with shared mobility and 40 cargo bikes. And for the policymakers, it was not that difficult, but for the people to really embrace the system, that was more difficult. But if you look at the streets now, and with 200 cargo bikes today in the city, yeah, we see that people very much love them and yeah, use them more and more.
So you started with 40, and within 3.5 years, you grew to a fleet of 200 cargo bikes across the city of The Hague.
Yeah, it's in certain neighborhoods now of The Hague, and the next step is to widen the system to all neighborhoods of The Hague, also the neighborhoods where people have a bit less to spend.
Interesting. I hope that many other municipal politicians and city hall representatives are listening to your example, because that's definitely a way to follow. Jaron, you were among the first one basically to support Rinse in this program.
Sure.
How was that from your perspective as a fleet operator?
We had to do quite a lot of missionary work in the beginning. And I'm happy to say that The Hague was one of the first cities. No, it was the first city where we started on a scale in the Netherlands. And you would consider the Netherlands as a very progressive country. Yeah. But I remember when we came in 2017 and talked to the city of Amsterdam and said, we want to do cargo sharing. And they said, sharing what? So we came a long way. We are not a niche anymore. I think that's the main thing for the whole industry. To achieve a change, you have to consider this a mainstream thing, not a niche thing. Yeah. But that cannot be done without city policy. And you will only encourage people to use more micromobility or less polluting mobility if you make it more difficult to use your car. So that's an important ingredient of the transition. And I think the city of The Hague is really embracing that, and also other cities are embracing that, and you see that more and more.
Oh, so you mean like carrot and stick?
Yes, absolutely, yeah.
Okay. So what was the carrot then, and what was the stick in your case?
The carrot is the people who really like it, even people who don't know it. You have to learn them that it's nice and that it's easy and that it works. They need one trip on a cargo bike, especially with the kids, and the kids will tell the parents, I want this, because it's fantastic. In a car, you have kids fighting and crying. In a cargo bike, you have kids talking and smiling. It's a big difference. And it's very practical also if you don't have kids to do your groceries, etc. Yeah. So the carrot is very obvious for the people using it. And the stick is obvious that there is also a stick which works by itself, because it's more and more impossible to move around by car in a city. So that stick is automatic. But in the neighborhoods which are further away from the center, the stick is less present. So there you need to do something in terms of policy.
Yeah, restricting the car.
Maybe we have a new carrot now, and that's to give back the space. If we put in shared mobility in the street, and that's also with car sharing, but also with cargo bikes and other forms of micromobility. If there's more car spaces available and people give back their parking permits, then we put in bicycle parking, and now there's a sort of deck with even a tree on it. And first, that's for sort of a tryout And if people like it in the street, then it will be permanent.
Oh,
So then you have like also with the climate change and stuff. So
so you're not
that's a nice
so
part.
you are not taking away the parking places for cars. You're bringing in something more to the neighborhood instead of it. Am I right to reframe it?
That's the plan.
Good.
Can I ask you a question?
Oh, of course, Bob.
Because
go
I
ahead.
heard you say making it more difficult for people to use the car. What do you mean with making it more difficult? For me, that feels like going back in time.
What I mean is that people are accustomed to a way of living, and if they are accustomed to taking the car to go like 1 kilometer away to do their shopping, which still happens, then they need some kind of trigger to change their behavior, and the trigger can be either making it more attractive to do it in another way. But it can also be to make it more unattractive to keep using your car for these very short trips.
Okay, I like the first take more.
Yeah,
Positive
sure.
take, making it more attractive. So incentivize them to use the bike, make the bike
Yeah.
more attractive. But making things less efficient is against my will. I would never do that.
Okay.
So, for example, all these speed bumps that we have in the city, to me that doesn't make sense. It's only more polluting. Cars slow down, speed up all the time.
Yeah.
And most of the cars nowadays, especially the modern cars, they have so many electronics, you can limit the speed.
Yeah,
We
it
don't
doesn't
need
change
speed
the
bumps.
behavior in
Yeah,
that sense.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But we are aligned then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But speaking of attractiveness of cargo bikes, you, Bob, and your team at Vroegh Design are at the very early stage and decisive stage of what an attractive cargo bike shall and will look like.
Yeah.
Bring us a little bit behind the scenes. What does it mean?
Yeah, I cannot tell
What you
too
can.
much, but-
I mean,
Yeah.
please don't
So,
look
I
on
need
the
to say that
contracts.
as a designer, we are always like at least 5 years ahead of the market. And what we are working on now will be on the market in 2 years. And there are great things coming. For example, in safety and safety experience, there's so much to improve in the current cargo bike. But also the use cases, if you use it for your children, for cargo purposes, if you use it for city to city,
Yeah.
there is a lot of development going on. And I think for all the use cases, we can make the ideal product.
Good. Just to put all of us a little bit on one page, speaking of numbers, I just bring in few markets. Germany last year, 212,000 cargo bikes sold, new cargo bikes sold. Then Belgium, 8-fold jump in the sales of cargo bikes, of course from a lower base, but the speed of growth is amazing. So everyone listening here from the investor's perspective, make your notes. And of course, France, 96% growth year on year with more than 40 local manufacturers. So the message is clear. There is an industry, a new industry growing. But what does that mean for you? I'll go now to Ben to you. I mean, you are using now Tern bikes, if I remember correctly. Why this brand? Why this form factor?
Yeah.
And how flexible are you in your future thinking as a luggy in Down Under?
Yeah, because we launched, so Australia's in a much different situation to a lot of European countries. We're right at the start of the curve. Like everyone's driving, everyone's got 2 cars at least. 98% of families have 2 cars. We came in with a behavior change product, and it's subscription. It's like, you're staring down the barrel of a $5,000 asset or $44. The $44 is a bit more of a no-brainer, and then the subscription is the way to get them on and make that transition a no-brainer. Actually get bums on seats, let them experience the bike, and then let the bike, the product, speak for itself.
Okay.
Why Tern? Fantastic partner, number one, but for us, accessibility was priority.
Oh, okay.
We have 2 bikes in our fleet, and that needs to serve a huge amount of use cases. Young, old, short, tall, 2 kids, 1 kids, no kids. And it's a really flexible, accessible product. We get asked all the time, why didn't you do a front loader?
Yes.
Front loaders are hard. If you haven't been riding for years, which on average our customer hasn't been riding in 3 years, they rode younger, rode in their holiday in Europe, had kids, stopped riding, and now the kids are a little bit older and they're seeing the impact that they have on their cities, and they wanted to return to cycling, and returning to cycling is daunting. There's a lot of tech specs, there's a lot of things around derailleurs and ampage of batteries and stuff like that. And it's just these people don't know. They're not buying their next Golf, Series 7 over a Series 6. This is completely new. So it's really important to give them a product that they feel comfortable on and where they're set up for success. That's the number one goal.
So make it easy, this transition.
Yeah.
All right. But it doesn't mean that you're gonna stick forever only with the long.
Well,
long
no,
day.
I'm here and I'm going to Eurobike at the end of the year, at the end of the week. And we are open to product that solves real use cases. So we've got the largest fleet of cargo family bikes in the world still. And we have a user base, a community that's giving us feedback about what trips they want to do, what are the things they need to achieve. I've got a customer that is trying to transport their kids' cello to music lessons each week. That's not that easy. So we need to come up with smart ways to keep those people cycling, keep them out of cars. And to do that, you need real car replacement type vehicles. And in micromobility, if that's the goal, people with families who have cars need cargo bikes. There is no other solution.
I think that is like a really important point. I mean, like the development of hardware, because I mean we still see challenges that we face as a sharing operator. I mean, Rob also mentioned it, and I mean that's also the reason why we developed our own hardware, our own bike. Because we see the feedback from the users, and we see that the private cargo bike or cargo bike that is designed for private use is it not what they need in a sharing operation. I mean, you modify your bike.
We modified the bike also.
I mean, we also learned a lot of lessons, and I think it still shows in what kind of stage we are at the moment. We are in a development phase. We are in a starting phase, and everything what we see is like the very early beginning of a big industry that will appear. And I mean, I also see that we should cooperate more. I mean, especially in this young industry. I mean, we just signed an LOI with a big bike sharing company because they see that cargo bike sharing, that's a Champions League in the sharing industry. I mean, it's very challenging, but it's very nice to be in this industry.
I think the shared cargo bikes are the darling of the cities. We see more and more tenders where cities say you can offer multimodal sharing, but it needs to comprise also cargo bikes. And that's a good development because the cities see the advantage of cargo bikes, especially for reshaping how the city looks like. And adding scooters doesn't change the city. Adding shared cargo bikes does change the city.
Can we dive a little bit deeper into it? Because you already have some experience. Can you sum it up a little bit, your experience and the way you argue with the city halls? What can you prove to colleagues of Rinse in other cities that shared cargo bikes can bring on a positive note to cities?
What it brings is that people decide to really either not use their car or not buy their car or not buy their second car. And we get that back from many users that they were considering either buying a second car or buying a car. And they experienced the possibilities of using a shared cargo bike. And they said, okay, I don't need a car actually. I can do almost everything with a shared cargo bike. And for the case that I need a car, I can use a shared car, which is usually less often than you need a cargo bike. It's usually when they go outside of town. So that means it creates space and it creates livability.
Good. Ben, you want to
I think it's important to if you're really asking people to drop their cars, you need to provide them a really reliable service. And in Europe, you have this density that you can actually drop stations pretty close to each other and you're 200 meters involved. I think the United States, England, Australia, completely different challenge. We're urban sprawl. We're massive. Melbourne is 100 kilometers from one side to the other. It's just insane scale. So there's different models to solve different issues. But to get behavior change, you need to offer them a service that they can rely on every morning to get the kids to school. And that's why, purchase is still a very good option for some people. Subscription is also another version, which is just giving that customer the opportunity to make the behavior change process. That's known, that takes at least 4 weeks. So there's different models to solve different areas in different parts of the world.
Cool.
The models are complementary, I think. That's absolutely, if you use a cargo bike twice daily, you might be better off having one of your own.
Or
But
subscribe
what we
into
do
one,
see is, of course, the situation with cars in the city is that most of the cars are 95%. Well, on average, I think that's known statistics. 95 of the cars, 5% are standing still.
Yeah.
If you replace all cars by cargo bikes, which exists, for example, in Stockholm. In Copenhagen, there are huge amounts of cargo bikes. You get the same kind of situation that all those cargo bikes are also standing still 95% of the time.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
Yeah.
There's no need.
Yeah.
Do we really have to replay the old automotive playbook,
Yeah.
repeating the same mistakes, or do you see with what you're doing?
I mean, what
different
Jeroen
way.
just said is like, I mean, I feel like sometimes like a drug dealer, you know? Because, I mean, cargo bikes make addicted, you know? And as a sharing provider, like we give on a very low barrier, the people the possibility to try a cargo bike.
Yeah.
I mean, once you try it, you know, you get addicted to it.
Yeah.
And that's the fantastic beauty of its product. And and I think, I mean, if you want to, as a city, want to replace cars, you know, the first thing is like, implement a cargo bike sharing scheme. The people try it. And actually, when they see, okay, it's a very nice vehicle, maybe sharing is not the best opportunity, maybe subscription, maybe buying, but the people get in touch with the product. And that is encouraging a lot the usage and the availability of cargo bikes.
Yeah, you need to lower the hurdle because most people, even cyclists in the Netherlands, who don't have their own cargo bike, who never tried it, they think it's a bit scary.
Okay.
And especially for people who are not used to cycling, of course, they find it very scary. So,
Because it's big, because of the mass.
It's big, yeah, sure. And you need to try it to experience that it's not as scary as you think. It's actually not scary at all, but you need to try it 1 or 2 times.
Yes.
And there's also, I think, a very importance of design. You should make it very attractive, appealing. People want to be seen on a cargo bike. That's why we chose the brand that we are working now, because it's a brand that people want. It looks nice, it's appealing, but I think it can be designed in a way that's even more appealing and easier even. So there's a way to go, I think.
I cannot agree more. If you want to pull people back from buying a second car and buying a cargo bike or sharing a cargo bike, I think that the experience of owning and using a cargo bike should be aligned with your second car. The user experience, the safety experience, the design, the image you have, the quality especially, and we are not there yet. There's so much to improve to get there. Yeah. And then for you, the cargo bike is like a long tail. We call it a long tail, and for you, the cargo bike is like the thing with the box in the front.
Yeah.
There are use cases for both of them.
Exactly.
And what you mentioned already, the learning curve of starting to cycle, like first-time cyclist on a long-tail bike, is less steeper than on a long john.
Yeah.
And that can affect the market adoption.
Yeah. We identified very early that the test ride and the handover process was so critical to long-term adoption. So, you know, an Amazon delivery bike of your cargo bike, good luck to you. You're going to get there, you're going to unpack it, both kids are going to jump on the back and you're screwed because it's actually a learning curve. So we found it was very important for families to deliver it to their house, so they've got a familiar area, and give them the tools, the steps to take on that challenge, because it is a big emotional challenge, but a physical challenge. So get them riding comfortably by themselves, add one kid, add the second kid, and then you get the smiles. Then everyone's having a good time. But you need to set them up for success.
But again, I mean, that is like, everything is about perspective. How much time do you need to invest to be able to drive a car?
Yeah.
6 months? And with a cargo bike, I mean, we're speaking about one trip, you know? I mean, you try it for 30 minutes, and then you feel good with it, you know?
Yeah.
And that's like, maybe, I mean, we always try to make it as easy as possible, but I mean, still think about how much time people need to invest to drive a car, you know? And there we are much faster, you know? No matter if it's like a long tail, a long john or whatever. So yeah, I think it's maybe also a little bit about perspective.
Yeah.
And I think that's also the place where we can find each other to have some campaigns, promotional things, and try out days, and be on the streets, on squares, in cities to let people try a cargo bike and maybe different cargo bikes or different types of shared mobility. People have to try it to see how it feels.
Good.
And I was just to sell a car and make the step for shared mobility. That's a big step, but not buying a car because you have all those different alternatives. Yeah, that's for all young people is like the easier things to do. So
Yeah, that sounds exactly like the strategy that Horace that he always tries to motivate everyone here in the room. Don't think about replacing the old. Look at the untapped potential out there. Fight with non-consumption, and I think that's what we are doing. That's what all of you are doing. We're heading slowly but surely towards the end. I have one question specifically for Tobias, because some of you know in the room, and I want to use this opportunity. I mean, you are with Sigo on the market for quite a few years. You have a unique approach to the market, but still, nowadays, you need to make some financial restructuring. We've seen already outside some headlines, Sigo, maybe bankruptcy or stuff like this. I would feel unfair if we wouldn't ask you that question. And for the audience to know, you are the first one to know. So what's the status now? What's the future? Are you going to be here with us next year?
Yeah, we are. So as a startup, I mean, you have some challenges, and we had a stalemate situation with our shareholders. So one shareholder wanted to invest, but he wanted only to invest if all go pro rata with him, and some didn't want that. So that was a stalemate situation. And now we are going in a restructuring process to streamline the shareholders. So part of the process will be also an M&A process, and one of our shareholders, he already said he will take over the company. And so I'm pretty relaxed that I'm sitting here and not on the phone.
Okay.
Like speaking.
So
to
no
other people.
bankruptcy, no insolvence.
No.
You're just going through a phase of,
Yes.
of that is necessary.
Yes.
Oh, good.
Can
Well,
I add
compared
one
to
thing?
Jaron, yeah, go ahead, Jaron.
Yeah, I think in general, of course, the situation is that the investment climate has changed dramatically in the past few years, and cargo bikes are expensive. That is so, and it will remain so. If you want to grow, and we want to grow in new cities, you need to invest a lot of money to get the cargo bikes, but also we are as a change industry, we are financing a behavioral change,
Yeah.
which is of course something that governments are
Extra
spending
cost.
billions on.
Yeah.
But that billions are not yet coming to our growth. So we have to finance privately a behavioral change of the population, and that seems something that
an
would go much
opportunity.
faster if there is more involvement from the government. And for example, I've been preaching to treat shared cargo bikes as a form of public transport, because it's complementary to public transport. And also, if you want to achieve a behavioral change and reach your climate goals, then you should accelerate this transition. And if you leave it to the market, it will happen, but it will happen slower because getting money is quite difficult.
Well, it sounds to me like another example of how micromobility and all of you here in the room are actually helping move cities forward, states forward, policy as well. Before we wrap up, I have one personal question for all of you and each of you. When was the last time you had really good time and laughed out loud related to cargo bikes and related to what you're doing? Starting with you, maybe, Rinse, because you are basically the change maker in one of the important cities.
I have to think 1 more minute, I see. So
Well, there are the guys to go. Oh, okay. Tobias, what was that time?
I was working in our hometown, Darmstadt, and actually I saw one customer with his baby, and his baby was wearing like a sunglass, sit on the cargo bike, and then like sit like that, and then like looking like that. So pretty cool, pretty awesome. I laughed like crazy because I mean, it feels like for me like people in a BMW, you know, like that. It was hilarious. I mean, he was too fast. I wanted to wait. I need a picture because that would be the best marketing picture ever, you know.
Good. So the gang is growing.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, thank you. Jaron.
I talked to one of the technicians out there, and he told me he just tried a cargo bike very recently with his small kid, and he really liked it. So, and I thought, wow, it's great. People who actually never used it, They try it once, and he told me he wants to buy one. And that means he won't bring me money, but it makes me very happy that we help people discover that there is another way to move around, and that people become very happy even after trying it once.
Wonderful. Congrats. Bob, how about you?
So the question was when I left out loud
last time related to cargo bikes.
I don't know. I laugh a lot, but I don't know when I laugh about cargo bikes. But I need to say that my experience is really aligned with the one of Tobias. We have designed many cargo bikes. I see them on the road here daily. And it makes me so happy to see a happy parent and happy children or a happy dog in the cargo bike. That's why I do this work.
Good.
I get this one all the time. We don't have a huge male user group, but we've defined a segment called Good Dad. And Good Dad is, he owes time to the family. He's worked too hard, but he still really wants a tech product like dudes do. And he gets a cargo bike because he gets that satisfaction of getting a bike. And you see them riding and the kids are behind, and they've been able to justify this purchase to their family by saying, oh, it's for the family, but it's definitely for them.
Good.
But the great thing is the kids on the back having just as much fun, probably facing the other way, waving to other people on the road. So.
Awesome. Yeah. That only sums up measure smiles, not miles, one of the mottos of micromobility. Lads, thank you very much for being here with us today. Big round of applause, please, for Cargo Bike panelists.